You have failed this city. Okay guys, it's Mikey aka Mr. McLab, you know me already, and I'm here to talk about Arrow, seasons 1 through 3, because those are the only seasons that I've seen. Those are the only ones on Netflix right now, and there are new ones coming out next month. Yes! So, yeah, season 4 will be coming out next month on Netflix, so it's currently September right now as I'm filming this. Hopefully this gets released and I don't look like a dummy. But anyway, blah, 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 blah. That's all here and neither here nor there. I'm here to talk about Arrow, seasons 1 through seasons 3, my thoughts on it. I'm going to get into heavy spoilers here, and it's just like a random discussion. And if you guys want to jump in on it, post your comments down below, and let's start the show. So season 1, I have to admit, was probably one of the most interesting. Season 2 was probably there in the middle, or probably second, but season 1 and 3 are probably tied for the most interesting. Season 1 was interesting to me because it was pretty much an origin story. It's told non-linear, so like you have flashbacks and then you have what's going on in the present. But for those who don't know, Ali was shipwrecked with his father and another person, and what happens is, in order to allow Ali to live and survive, his father kills himself in order so that Ali has enough food and supplies to be able to survive on the island at least. And Ali encounters some crazy stuff on the island and off the island later on that helps shape him into the vigilante that is the Arrow. Well, he's called the Hood in season 1. He doesn't officially take on the name the Arrow until I think season 2. Maybe. I might be wrong about that, but we'll have to see. Anyway, so I feel like it was most interesting because most of the characters, and I want to say at least about 90% of them, I didn't like them, and it was intentional. It wasn't like the characters were written badly, because they weren't. It wasn't like the characters were just like the acting was bad, because they weren't. Like the acting was good. It was just the characters themselves I didn't really care for. I couldn't connect with them, and that includes the main character, Ali. And granted, I give Ali kind of a pass because of what he's been through on the island, and you get flashbacks here and there about what's been going on and how he's kind of messed up. So, you know, stuff like that can happen. It's bound to have some type of negative effect on you. But you're introduced to Dinah Lance, who's pretty much pissed at Ali because Ali was cheating on her and wound up, and her sister was on the ship with Ali, and her sister presumably was killed in the incident that wrecked the ship and everything, which you're found out later on is a bomb. It was rigged to blow up and destroy the ship and kill them for the most part. So yeah, so she's pissed at him about that, and then if you find out his friend Tommy, you meet his mom, Moira Queen and Thea Queen, his sister. You meet the what's the guy's name? I'm trying to remember. I'm trying to remember the stepfather, basically the person that married Moira after Mr. Queen's death. I can't remember his name, but the guy that married her afterwards and everything. I've seen him in other movies. I just can't think of his name in the show, so I just can't. For whatever reason, I can't. It's not coming to. It's not clicking for some reason. It'll probably come to me later at like 2 a.m, and then I'll have to edit that into the video, but somehow, some way. But we're introduced to a lot of characters, and like I said, 90% of them I don't like, and the few that I did like were probably it became over time that I liked these characters, and that was Tommy and Diggle, and somewhat Felicity. I mean, let's be honest. Felicity's kind of she looks nice, so yeah, so like yeah, there's so there's that, but um, the reason I didn't like most of the characters was just because of how they really treated each other. Um, Now, granted, Thea has some issues. She has some serious anger issues that I would like to like. I would classify it as that. She has some serious anger issues, but man, she knows how to cut you with her words. And it just some of the stuff she said, it was just like, man, I'm surprised nobody slapped you yet. I'm not for violence in the family and stuff like that, but I'm surprised no one slapped you for some of the stuff that you said. The mom was just never. She always felt like she had her own agenda that was not really. It was in her best interest and not necessarily in the family's best interest, but that comes to like shape later on in later seasons. You start to understand her a little bit better. That doesn't necessarily mean that I grew to like her. It just I understood her a little bit better. But it comes to find out, like, yeah, she had something to do with her husband's death, and Ollie getting trapped on that island and everything like that. You're introduced to, like I said, you're introduced to Laurel Dinah Lance, who later on, if you read the comics, you know that later on she becomes the Black Canary. But there's an interesting story with that. I'll get into that a little bit later. But who else are we introduced to? I think that's pretty well. Yeah, her father. But the father, is still grief stricken over the whole after his daughter was killed in the accident on the boat and everything. Everyone's pissed at on in the Lance family is pissed at Ollie. And it just creates a lot of tension, and it's understood. Obviously, it's very much understood. It's very much understood why they're so angry at him. But there comes a time where I feel like it was kind of beat over the head a little bit too much. It's like, okay, I get it. You hate this person. Why are you being so illogical right now in a certain, in a certain situation and stuff like that? Look. And it was good writing. It's good writing in the sense that it was supposed to be that way. It's supposed to be illogical. And there's people out there that really does happen. It's like you can be so mad at someone that you will do anything in your power, including something so stupid that will just to hinder that person. It just becomes kind of ridiculous. And I felt like that's what I felt like Detective Lance, like the father, that was kind of his ordeal. Like he had a drinking problem and stuff like that. But Dinah was one of those people. Like I felt like she didn't know what she wanted in life, in a sense, because, and not so much as her career, but like her life. Because your career is not your life. That's a part of your life. But like her life in general, and she eventually was like bouncing from Tommy to Oliver, and it just like she didn't know what she wanted. She couldn't figure herself out. Obviously, yes, she still has feelings for Oliver, and when you have feelings for somebody, it never goes away. Despite how much a person hurts you, you still feel something for that person no matter what. Understood, and everything like that. But I felt like it was probably something that needed to be dead in the water. Like I said, I keep giving it this excuse, but it's kind of supposed to be that way, and I have no problem with it. It was just like a lot of the characters I felt like just didn't know what they were doing with themselves in life, and the few people that I felt like did were Diggle, because even though like Diggle didn't agree with Ollie's vigilantism, because Ollie came back, he was straight up vigilante. He was killing folks, so he didn't really agree with Ollie's vigilantism, but he understood that there was a purpose behind it. It was going to be something bigger than the both of them. He saw the Arrow as something that was bigger than both of them, kind of like in the Batman Nolan series, where like Batman was a symbol and anyone could be Batman, and Batman was supposed to represent something. So he felt like the Hood represented something that needed to be or needed to come to fruition in the Starling City. So I like Diggle. Diggle had clear motives and everything like that. I still don't feel like he likes Ollie all that much, and we'll get into that in season 3. But man, who else? And Tommy. Tommy had probably the most growth at the end of the season, and it's unfortunate because he dies, and he was probably my favorite character. He was one of those people that he lived a crazy life, didn't care about anybody but himself. He was living off of his father's trust fund and everything like that, and it came down to it where he wanted to do something good. He wanted to straighten his life out, and he spent literally this entire, I think, what was it, 22 episodes or something like that, using him nothing but bettering himself and bettering those, trying to help better those around him. And he was the one that I was on board with this guy. I was like, I like this guy. And I should have known. I should have well known. It's just like, yeah, this guy is like, he's turning over a new leaf. He's going to be this good person. Of course he's going to die at the end of the season. I should have known that. But the show drew me in so much that when it happened, I was pissed. I am not going to lie. I was pissed because I'm like, he was like the only one of the few people that I liked. And when he dies at the end of the season, it's just kind of like, oh, really? Really? Why did that have to happen? So, but Ollie did have an arc and stuff like that. He, when he first started his crusade, he was trying to right the wrongs that his father and, his affiliates had done to the city. He was trying to clean up Starling City, and he started with a lot of high-paid individuals for the most part. And so he had a list of people, and he was just kind of marking them off. And towards the end of the season, he kind of find out, like, this list doesn't mean what I think it means. Getting rid of the people on this list is not going to help this city. Becoming this vigilante is not going to help the city. And that really was driven home in Tommy's death, because there's this big scene at the end where the city is going to cave in. I'm not going to spoil that part. If you want to go see that, you need to go. If you haven't seen it, you need to go see it. So it's on Netflix. So like, get Netflix for like $7. Literally binge watch it, and then for all I care, cancel it. So, but anyway, Tommy's unfortunately dies in that, and then the Arrow feels like the last. Tommy saw me as a murderer. That was his best friend, saw him as something like, now he wasn't technically, he was a vigilante. He definitely was. He didn't really take prisoners or anything like that. And he really did only, it's kind of debatable to whether to say that he killed only when necessary, because when is it truly necessary to kill? It's a debatable question. So, but it really is driven home when Tommy dies, and he feels like that's the last person he saw. He didn't see, this symbol or what the hood was supposed to represent. He saw his best friend as a murderer. That's what Ollie felt, and he was just kind of like, he really questioned himself after that, and he wound up like leaving the island, going off into exile and everything, and they had to go get him in season 2. Just like, what are you doing, man? We need you, man. Come on back. Come on, man. Come on. We need you. We need you. So he comes back, and then he changes his ways, and he basically becomes the Arrow. I think that's pretty much the first time that it's really... he become like the name the Arrow is used, so he's referred to as the Arrow, not Green Arrow. I don't know if it'll ever be Green Arrow. Maybe in season 4. I haven't seen season 4 yet, so maybe it'll be Green Arrow later on. So, but right now it's the Arrow. But you're also introduced into Roy Harper. He doesn't really have a lot to do. He's in a few episodes, so it's kind of cool to see him in a sense. But it's kind of like he's just kind of here, And so anyway, he in season 2, like, he comes back and he tries to think of non-lethal ways to stop these criminals and everything. And even like the detective Lance is just like, this is not your style. And he's like, I'm trying something different. And I kind of like that because, like, it was, it showed that growth of a person that is just like, okay, what I was doing, I felt like what I was doing was right. And maybe it was at that particular point in time. But right now, things need to be different. And I need to show these people, I need to know that there is a better way. There's always a better way to do things. And, he was really exercising that, and it was really, really trying for him because there was times where, like, people that he cared about, especially Felicity, would get in danger, and he was like, I want to kill this person so bad, and he's like, no, because that's not who I am. I'm not a murderer, so I'm not going to go down that route. In a sense, like, feeling like he was no better than the criminals, kind of like the way Batman does. The way Batman feels, at least in the Nolan series, it's just like, if I cross that line and become like judge, jury, and executioner, then I'm no better than they are. So I need to draw that line, and that's what Arrow essentially learned in season 2. Like, the characters got a lot better. We got to see Slade Wilson. That's an awesome character. I'm not even gonna lie, that was an awesome character. You see him in season 1 a little bit, but I think mostly in season 2 because you start seeing like a little bit little pieces here and there of Slade helping him survive and teaching him to do things and stuff like that. And there's this whole love triangle story that happens. And it come to find out that the Green Arrow is inspired by, can't remember her name because I'm a doofus. Cannot remember her name because I suck right now. But there was this whole love triangle, and Slade loved this person that the person that Green Arrow is really based off of, but Slade fell in love with this person, and unfortunately she was killed because and it was a real messed up scene. I'm definitely not going to spoil that scene because that one was one of the it was very much a if you've seen Amazing Spider-Man, sorry, not Amazing Spider-Man, if you've seen the first Spider-Man movie, the Sam Raimi Spider-Man, and if you've seen Batman Forever, where there's the point where hey, you have to choose this or that. Except this time, they went the full route. As they were able to save both of them in both of those movies. Not in the show. Not in the show. There was there was consequences in this show. So it was a choice between her and who's revealed to be alive, Sarah Lance. That's her name. So she's revealed to be alive, so she has to choose between Sarah and the other girl, the other girl, and he immediately just flocks to Sarah, and so the other girl dies, and it's revealed Slade finds out about that and feels like, oh well, you did this, so you chose for her to die, and he saw it that way in a sense. You could kind of tell he didn't really believe that, and I felt like that added a layer to his character, but he was so blind with pain and grief and anger, and the guy was, Ivo, was it was kind of like one of those things. It was just who do I blame? And for a long time, he wanted to blame Ivo up until Ivo told him that fact. And then, it's kind of hey, why did you keep that from me? That was that's kind of that betrayal thing. So, like I said, Slade's hurting at this point, and he's just he wants revenge. And it really didn't matter on who it was going to be on. And, he was just kind of blind in that sense. But I feel like there was a part of him that knew. There was a part of him that knew, okay, I can't really blame this person, but I was it was just kind of that conflict that I felt that added a real good layer to Slade. Slade was a heck of a villain. Not even going to lie about that. Slade is a heck of a villain because he was the person that could get close to Ollie, and he would just straight up just show up at his house and talk to his mom what's up? How you doing? Got your mom over here. Me and her gonna knock some boots later. Got a problem with that? That didn't have. He didn't say it quite like that, but I mean, pretty much for the most part. Like he was just taunting him, and just he could get into every facet of Oliver's life, and it was like, man, he is tearing him down, not only as the Arrow, but as Oliver Queen, and that's a villain, man. That is a villain. Um, and of course, like he doesn't die, which is good. I'm glad because I definitely want more Slade. I want more. I need more Slade in the show. So hopefully, like he shows up in season 4. He does show up in season 3 again for like a quick episode or whatever. But yeah, he does it. Shows up in season 2 is pretty much all him. So damn good villain. Season 2. Season 3. Again, most interesting season. Kind of rivals with number 1. And that's because this is when, like, now, the League of Shadows, the League of Assassins is introduced earlier on. And I think maybe season 1. I'm pretty sure it was season 1 where the League of Assassins was first introduced. But this season is solely focused on the Ra's al Ghul and the League of Assassins. And, it's interesting, in my opinion, just because of what Ra's al Ghul does to Ollie. Because again, like Slade, he can infiltrate every facet of Oliver's life. But the League of Assassins are exactly that. The League of Assassins, they take no prisoners. And eventually, Ollie goes to try to fight him so that hey, I fight you, you leave everyone else alone. Ollie almost dies. I mean, he does die for the most part. To be perfectly honest, all intents and purposes, he dies. He dies. He's just like barely hanging on by a thread. And it's one of those like, really, show? Really? He's alive after this now. Come on. But I think there was something, I can't really remember. I think that had something to do with the Lazarus pit, and its flowing juices has revitalized him and everything. But it wasn't in that sense. Like, he was helped by some allies he had made on the island. Like I said, a lot of stuff happened on the island. And you actually see that he wasn't on the island for the whole time. He was actually back home at a certain point in time, being controlled by Amanda Waller. And gotta be honest, this Amanda Waller, there was a point in time where, like, this Amanda Waller was bloody and beat up, and I gotta admit, if I was Ollie, I'd have just been like, sucks to be you right now, and just kind of like trotted off just because of what she's done and everything. I mean, granted, like, Amanda Waller's always been that, like, oh, I'm doing this for the good of the nation and the good of the people and stuff like that, but she does some real messed up, underhanded stuff, and will use any type of weakness against you. Any type. She is Nick Fury times Nick Fury. She is Nick Fury squared. And like, Nick Fury will use stuff against you, but in a sense, there's some times where you like Nick Fury. There's like, 20% of the time you'll like Nick Fury. The other 80%, you want to kick him square in the dick. But 20% of the time, you'll actually like Nick Fury. There is absolutely no point in time where you really like Amanda Waller, except like liking her as a villain, as a character. Just like, well, this is a badass woman right here. I don't want to mess with her at all. And if I do, I mean, it's just one of those things. She can use anything against you, and and she will. And she does not hold back, and that's what makes her such an interesting and dynamic character, and scary character. To be perfectly honest, she's very scary. Even in the show, in a Suicide Squad movie, I gotta admit, in the Suicide Squad movie, she was scary. So it's kind of like one of those things. It's like, whew, Amanda Waller. So, but yeah, like you see, like, okay, he wasn't always on the island and stuff like that. You get a little bit more backstory as to what's been going on with him, and he develops these allies who help him out late in the present day, who bring him back to life for the most part. And he goes back home, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, and he's doing People are pissed at him and everything, and he's just like, there's only one way I can protect these people, and that's if I go undercover. And that's his thought. Now, you don't actually know that. You have suspicions during the show. I mean, you may not, if you're like, if you kind of do. You gotta have some type of suspicion. Like, this has got to be a hoax to some degree. But everyone else in the show is pretty much believing it. It's just like, hey, I'm going to. He won't stop. He won't stop coming after the people I care about, because a lot of people get hurt. Thea gets hurt, and it's just one of those things. Like, I got to do something. So he winds up, quote unquote, joining forces temporarily with an enemy who happens to be one of the people that he was. I'm not sure if he was one of the people on the list. I think he was, but he was one of the people on the list. He was supposed to have died earlier on. I thought he had died in the first season, but he didn't. I think like the Lazarus Pit brought him. They're like something to do with the Lazarus Pit. They haven't fully delved into the Lazarus Pit, in my opinion, unless I wasn't paying attention like during one of the episodes or whatever. But they haven't really delved into the Lazarus Pit and like who has what from the Lazarus Pit that will help out. So it's kind of interesting in that regard. So he goes undercover, but like I said, you don't know that until later on. And he joins the League of Assassins in order to protect the people that he cares about. He was going to become the new race and allow the old race to die for the most part. And he does some really messed up stuff. He does some really, really, really messed up stuff just to keep the facade up, just to, show his loyalty. He kidnaps Diggle's wife. And I mean, in the situation, she could have died. She could have died just for this mission or whatever, but he saw it as, I have no choice. And it was really questionable. It was really questionable. I can't say like, okay, I can't really compare him to Batman and say like, oh, well, would Batman have done something like this or something? It makes you wonder. But what it reminded me of personally was Young Justice and how Calderon went into the Manticore, the Black Manta, went under, to his father, Black Manta, undercover, but under the guise like, hey, I'm working for you because this happened, and I'm on your side now. But really, he was passing intel, and Calder did some questionable stuff. I mean, to the point where he blew up, he blew up the old spot where, what is the name of the spot? I keep wanting to say Titan Tower. It's not Titan Tower because it's the cave. The cave? Yeah, he blew up the cave. And that's where, like, Young Justice, like, where the team always got together. He blew it up, and not even really knowing that they got clear of it. So it was just one of those things like, wow. You guys are willing to die for this right now just to get close to the light? Like, he's willing to do some things. He's willing to to save his friends. He's willing to really put them at risk. So it's one of those things like, I don't know about this. I really don't know about this. But, it's kind of, it's revealed, his plan and everything like that. He comes out with it. And I don't know if he comes out with it or if it's found out. But I like the fact that the show doesn't gloss over the fact that, he was doing this under, it was just like, oh, well, he was doing this for the mission and he had to be done and everyone's okay with it. No, everyone's not okay with it. I'm not okay with it. I'm not even part of the show. It's not even a real thing. And I'm like, I'm really not okay with what you've done. But the show acknowledges that. And it's like, everyone's still pissed at him for what he's done and everything. But eventually, like, it does work out to a certain degree. Another villain becomes the new Raj Al Ghul and everything. And this city is safe for now. Until season 4 happens and season 5 happens and things happen. So it'll be interesting. So as a whole, I like Arrow. As a whole, I really like the show. Like I said, the first season really got interesting to me. the second season definitely, the third season definitely to me had one of the best intros back to the season because of I'm pretty sure, was it the third season? Maybe it was. No, it had to be the third season because the second season he was away. So the third season had one of the first episode had one of the greatest intros because you see Speedy, Red Arrow. His name's not Red Arrow. Arsenal, Roy Harper, and Green Arrow taking down the baddie along with Diggle and stuff. So it's really cool. It's a really cool scene, and just the way like the title credit shows, and he's like, "You have failed this city," boom, and he hits him with the arrow, and they hit the arrow, the bow, and it's like, it's really cool intro. Probably my favorite intro to any show. It was just like, wow, this is actually really riveting. What's going on right here? So, on the whole, really liked the show. First season was interesting because like it's hard. I didn't think a show could do that and really get away with it and have me still interested in it. Like, even though it's a comic show, like there's been comic shows that I've gotten into and just like, I don't know if I want to watch this anymore, and I stop. So, but you know, this was one of those, like, I didn't like any of the characters, most of the characters, but I was still interested in what was going on. I was still compelled to watch, so it was kind of cool. So it was, in that regard, interested to see what's going on in season 3. Interested to see what's going on. Sorry, season 4 and season 5. Definitely want more collaborations. We had a lot of collaborations with the Flash. I didn't really talk about them that much because I'll talk about the Flash in another show, another episode of this Comic Junkies Corner, not the new show, but like. But yeah, definitely enjoyed the show. Not a lot of slow episodes. I gotta admit that. Not a lot of slow episodes. It's just, yeah, it's a good show. It's a good show. I enjoyed it. I binged on it. I don't feel sorry for binging on it. I'll be perfectly honest with you. Flash and Arrow were the reasons that I got a Netflix account. It wasn't even Daredevil, even though I'd seen the first season of Daredevil. I loved it. But Flash and Arrow were the reason I got a Netflix account, just because I wanted to see these shows, and I hadn't seen them, and I wanted to see them, so I made sure I did. So, yeah. So, those are my thoughts on Arrow, Seasons 1, 2, and 3. I'm going to watch Season 4 probably during the winter break, because I probably won't have time to watch it during school. That's just the way of things. I'm not going to have time to watch it while I'm in school, but during the winter break, I'll definitely probably binge on that and binge on Season 2 of Flash. So, what did you guys think of it? I know if you've seen it, I hope you've seen it, because I spoiled the crap out of that show. So, like, there are certain parts I didn't spoil. Like, I really, like, if you haven't seen it, I really wanted you to see it. But, yeah, just, and I did leave quite a few plot points out because I'm doing 3 seasons, so there's only so much I can really talk about in a short span time. So, like, if you haven't seen it, hopefully this helps you to go see it. I want you to go see it, and so we can talk about it. And if you have seen it, what did you think of it? What were some of your favorite episodes? Who were some of your favorite characters? Post it in the comments below. Let us know what's going on. Check me out on Twitter at Mikey McBlam, Mr. McBlam, and you can also check out my boy JJ's blog, his 4comicjunkies.blogspot.com. Follow him on Twitter at 4comicjunkies. What else is going on? Yeah, if you like this video, subscribe and leave a like if you liked it, and I will see you in the next video.